Hello, friends, and thank you as always for visiting the Legend Sports Universe YouTube channel, Legend Sports Universe, where legends play forever. This is going to be the first in a series of videos I'm going to do for the new boxing title recently released earlier this month, Undisputed. It is available on PC. It's available now on consoles as well, Xbox and PlayStation 5. I had intended to do this a bit sooner, but I concede that my frustration with Undisputed made me hold off on doing this video. And so before putting a video together, I wanted to spend a bit more time working the game and trying to see what, if anything, I could do to make it work the way I want it to. If you follow this channel long enough, and if you were around the Undisputed Discord server a couple of years ago, back when it was still called Esports Boxing Club, you'll know I was very involved in that forum and in the discussions about fighter ratings, AI, and the hopes for a create a fighter feature within the game. I had developed an intricate system, as well as I could, given our knowledge at the time, for prospectively rating classic fighters, and released a video discussing the process and ratings for 25 heavyweights and 25 middleweights throughout history. You can find those links to those videos, if you are so inclined, in the description down below. I had started on a welterweight video when Steel City's developers in the Discord chat, yes, people, they used to actually engage with people before they got your money and went dark. But they acknowledged they weren't really putting effort into CAF. They weren't going to divulge much about the rating system or anything at all about it at the time. And the whole feature was, frankly, secondary. Their focus, and it's totally justified as a business decision, was to focus on online fighting. Create a Fighter was going on the back burner, and as such, I decided to stop investing my time in working on ratings and such until I had something tangible to work with from them. With the release of Undisputed earlier this month, now I do. And, well, 2 years later, to call it disappointing is an understatement. Why? Before I dive into that, bang that like button, subscribe if you haven't as of yet, because despite the torching that I'm going to give Undisputed here, there will be more content on the game and my host of other projects, including the Franchise Stars Football League playoffs, the beginning of the Franchise Stars Basketball Association, and the return of year 4 of the Franchise Stars Baseball League here on the channel coming up. So the shameless self promotion is done. Let's talk Undisputed Create a Fighter. Now, notice I didn't call the Create a Fighter feature trash or crap, etc. I call it disappointing. Why? Because the bones are there for it to have been a killer feature, and instead they half-assed it. And that pisses me off more than the feature just blatantly sucking. So I'm going to get to the good stuff that gives promise first. And we'll start here. Let's go and take a look at the body sliders. You got your preset stuff. You can go through a host of these things if you want to, and that's fine. That's pretty standard. Nothing wrong with any of that. You can start with a preset and then build off of that, which is totally fine. Skin tone, obviously, and then you get down to the muscle options. You can adjust the physique really well here, up and down. You got stuff from the traps. You see it goes, it'll kind of shade green the areas that you're going to be defining there. So it kind of gives you a good guide through. You've got the back muscles, the chest muscles. You can go from 0 to the 100 there, bulk that up. You can do the abs, see how defined you want those, all the way down to the calf muscles. And you can see it really does make a bit of a difference, and it's subtle. It's not overly done. So it's really well done there as far as getting a pretty good approximation of a good fighter build from a musculature standpoint. That's absolutely awesome. So here we go. We'll get to the face. You've got a bunch of presets that you can pick through here as kind of your starting point to work off of. But then even if you pick one of those presets, you can then go back here and you can do all the different head, and it's again, head width, face depth, temple depth. Again, it highlights, where you're working so you can really kind of tell. You've got forehead slope there. So you really kind of stuff, it's really defined. This is really well done. The brow width, the brow rotation. It's got a host of sliders down to stuff. You go down to the ears, and you've got ear thickness and pointiness, and the earlobe size, and the helix height, and all that kind of stuff. Helix direction. Like, you can really do a lot of stuff there. That is absolutely awesome and a great job done by SCI and the developers as far as making the faces and making the musculature. That gives you a lot of hope for what you're going to get out of here from Create a Fighter. So you look at those two things and you're probably thinking, that's going to be awesome. Now, watch SCI go and shoot themselves in the foot. All right, so here's your first screen that you'll work from. You obviously picked your gender already, default is male, as makes sense. Pick the weight class. We'll go work in middleweight. That's my favorite weight class of all time. My all-time favorite fighter, Marvin Hagler. But now watch this. Let's make Bernard Hopkins or Thomas Hearns two legends. Hopkins, 6'1 with a 75-inch reach. Hearns was 6'1 with a 78-inch reach. Reach is so huge for fighters, and these are two of the best in middleweight history. So let's go. We've maxed out the height. Wait a second. Take a look there. The height is topped out at 6 feet. You cannot make him taller than that. Now, if I want to go to a cruiserweight, you go up in weight class and you can go higher than 6 feet. But if you want to make a middleweight, nope, 6 feet is the limit of height that you can create there. You can How about reach? Let's go and check this out. You've got the exact same situation. You get up to 100%, your maximum reach is 73 inches. So now you cannot make a middleweight taller than 6 feet tall or with a bigger reach than 73 inches. I'm not trying to make Plastic Man here, for God's sakes. I'm looking to make all-time great fighters, normally proportioned guys, and I can't make their height and their reach appropriate. Even more idiotic is that those limits change. So at welterweight, it's going to be cut even more. At welterweight, I can't make a welterweight taller than 5'11 or with a reach longer than 72 inches. Paul the Punisher Williams, former welterweight champ, 41-2 in his career, had his career cut short by a motorcycle accident that left him paralyzed. 6'1 with a freakish 79-inch reach at welterweight. And remember, Hearns is one of the greatest welterweights of all time. Two terrific fighters at welterweight. No, I can't make them because SCI and Undisputed have created these nonsensical fabricated limits to create a fighter that says I can't create a guy to the proportions of actual people. We're not trying to make aliens. We're not trying to make Mr. Fantastic fighting guys standing in one corner and punching guys in the other corner of the ring. We're not trying to make any of that. We are just trying to make historic fighters who we know and love and are passionate about for a game that we're passionate about, for a sport that we're passionate about. And SCI says absolutely not. You can't do it. There is no point to that. And here's the added dose of stupidity to all of this. You can't use created fighters online. So the argument that SCI was trying to keep people from making unrealistic fighters to get an advantage online can't even be made. So you've taken a feature of a game someone paid $80 for and told them that they can't even make fighters with the basic fundamental dimensions of fighters who actually existed. Completely idiotic. Now, check this out, because this gets even more absurd. Let's go. Let's get our guy back. We'll set him back here at around the 50% mark, because that doesn't really have anything to do with what's coming up next. You'll see this body mass slider in the middle. Let's have some fun with absurdity here. 50% body mass at welterweight. All right, you're in the middle of the class. 147.7. Cool. Check this. The sliders that I went on about before and praised how well they do them in terms of musculature and the facial structure. Check this out. Bottom of the weight class, 144.4. Okay? This guy makes me want to send money to his family in Ethiopia to help feed him. Now, let's move this all the way to the right. 100%. That is an 8-pound difference. 144, not even an 8-pound difference. We are at, let me see, we're at 144.4 at zero. We are at 150.9 at the top of that. So that is 6.5 pounds. And now it looks like if Rosie O'Donnell and Butterbean made a kid. What in the hell is that? And why tie it to the weight, particularly if it's just cosmetic and doesn't really have an impact on the fight itself anyway? A 164-pound fighter has no in-game advantage over the straight 160-pound fighter. It's just not something that's part of the game, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Just let me enter the weight I want, the height and the reach that I want, and then build the body from there. By doing things the way they are doing this, look at this, 6.5 pounds is that big a difference. Where, in reality, is that based? Completely stupid. You are forcing me through these limitations. You are forcing me to be inaccurate. And that is just beyond dumb. The models for the fighters in the game look great. I bet the models I can create will look really sharp. I know the real fighters were scanned and we won't be able to match that, which I get, but still be pretty good, right? Get ready for this. This gets even worse. All right, so let's take a look here. We've got our bald face looking guy. I'm just going to work off any of the presets. Again, let's take a 2-second look at the presets. Again, crazy hair guy, crazy hair, old guy for some odd reason. Another weird hair guy, kind of, sort of. All right, you can kind of get away with the fade a little bit. I haven't seen too many pompadours on real fighters, but, whatever. Again, ridiculous stuff in the presets, but you figure that you can modify some of that. Check this out. Hair type. These are the hair types that you get, okay? So you've got, let me see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 30, 30 and 12, 42 different hair types. But can we check out some of these, please? Like, what are we, and Madden is guilty of doing this too. I don't need 30 variations of freak show wild haircuts that aren't necessary. All right, you've got a couple of different variations of fades. I guess the kid and play look is coming back in style or something. Like, what are we doing? I don't need this guy. I don't need this guy. I don't need either of these. You know what I need? I need to be able to put a regular, natural level, medium length throw from the 70s and 80s. Sugar Ray Leonard style, Aaron Pryor style. You can't get any of that. Your only thing that comes close to a throw in this is this. That's it. That's the only option. And that's not even really an afro. That's, you can kind of go along like Salvador Sanchez's hair if we want to go and change that. It's kind of stuck somewhere between perm and afro. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. The facial hair options are not only lacking, which is frankly inexcusable in 2024, but it's made worse by the fact that many slots are taken up with the hair in particular that nobody would ever give. Again, I don't need the funky looking double braid reverse mohawk nonsense. Give me standard hair that's been used through history, a part on the left, a part on the right. The natural look for African American fighters. The regular fro, not the big Dr. J fro. I don't even need that. You haven't seen fighters with that. Just the natural look, the short crop, slight fade. That's fine. Okay, we got something along that variation here. But where's that Aaron Pryor, Sugar Ray Leonard look? It is nowhere to be found. Speaking of length, if you're going to give me such limited choices in terms of hair and the absurd options in facial hair, let's go and get to that for a minute. These are your facial hair types. This is it. Mustache that barely shows up. Goatee that barely shows up. Another goatee that barely shows up. Why are those all so faded? Let's go and jump into the color on that one for a minute. The most that you can get that to show up is that. That is as prominent as you can have a goatee on a fighter. Why? There is one mustache of any length. One, and that's it. The Super Mario Brothers look. That's all you get, folks. That's the only mustache that you can have. If you're going to limit the styles in this fashion for hair and facial hair, can you at least let me edit the lengths of the styles so I can maybe mute this mustache a little bit, or I can lengthen those goatees a bit? Maybe even let me combine multiple styles. But apparently that's too big an ask. I get it. All right, let's get to the trunks. What better way to be able to personalize your fighter than to see how he dresses and what kind of trunks he wears, right? You should be able to decorate them plenty, put your text on them, put ads, branding, whatever on them that you want. Yeah, no, SCI says no to that either. Check this out. Shorts type, three styles. The skirt look, which is always good. I guess Hector Mantra Camacho can be made. That's fine. Feathers on the outside for some odd freaking reason, and then just standard tights. That's it. Tights. I don't know why. I guess being an old school wrestling fan. But the trunks, three styles. That's it. All right. Ads, symbols, whatever. Yeah, maybe I can do that. Nope. No option for that. Shorts design. These are the 15 options. And yes, you can change the colors of those designs and stuff, but like, that's it. I can't put any ads on. I can't put any text on. Even the waistband text, the simple old Alexis Arguello, just Alexis across the band. No other decorations on his tights. Blue is the base color, white as the belt and the trim color, with Alexis in blue print across the waist. I can't even do that. Are you kidding? In 2024, again, it is half-assed, and there's no reason for it. Now, get ready for this one, folks, because this might be the dumbest decision in sports gaming next to EA not allowing you to use more than one team builder team in franchise mode in Madden. Don't worry, I'm not bitter about that, really. Staggeringly stupid. But let's get to this one. SCI really kind of takes the cake here. Let's go to the ratings. So look at all these stat categories. Oh, that looks so impressive. You got all these categories. I can customize my fighter. This is great. I can make guys of all different levels and all different quality. Yeah, no, you can't. The max you can rate a created fighter is an 80. Yes, in a game with many fighters in the 90s out of the box, inappropriate. If I were to create a prime Mike Tyson, I can't make him more than an 80. You get 300 stat points from the start. It starts with all the categories at 70. You can see you can lower a guy a bit and you can borrow from some categories to get guys into others. But still, you can't make a fighter with an overall rating of more than an 80 in the game. I think there's a couple of combinations. If you go through some of these guys, right? There's one right there, the Speed Demon guy. You can technically get to an overall of 81 in those couple of bases if you choose. Again, you can kind of select those as a preset and then build the fighter off of that. But you can't get higher than an 81. Note to SCI, EA, and whatever other companies might come across this. Stop limiting what I can do on my own with a game that I paid for. If I want to create a 99 heavyweight to demolish everyone strictly on my own in offline mode, something impacting nobody else, don't prevent me from doing so because it's stupid. But it's not only stupid, it's frankly disrespectful. Now, you can get around the 80 rating issue with WeMod, but I shouldn't have to fire up an external program to get the one I paid $80 for to work properly. But wait, we're not done. Because next, we get to the biggest issue with Create a Fighter, and in my opinion, the game as a whole, outside of the whole online fiasco, which is its own set of problems. I'll leave guys better versed in that component to hammer that part of the game. My focus is on creativity and simulation. Do you remember these screens? These are the fighter editor screens from Fight Night Champion, the last real boxing game that we had, back from 2011. Fight Night Champion is the king of boxing games, though not perfect to be clear. But these screens were a big reason why. Look at all the things you can adjust for your fighter: aggression, how many punches they throw, per round, per fight, fighting inside or outside, targeting the head or the body, if their defense was more rooted in bobbing and weaving, or rather with blocking. And then you had skills for each punch, which affected not only the frequency with which they would use that punch, but the accuracy of doing so. I knocked around with Fight Night Champion plenty, but it wasn't until I started the Legend Sports Universe project during COVID that I really started delving into the sim element of FNC. And as I do, I took a deep dive in creating formulas based on real CompuBox data and getting fighters to throw the proper number of punches per round, have the proper ratio of jabs to power shots, etc. I developed a system that combined fighter ratings from the classic title bout game with that CompuBox data, and I had that system humming until EA took down the boxer share by which to share those fighters. It was understandable to a degree. The game was 10 years old, but even so, taking down those servers was a real gut punch to the work I was doing. The thing is, if we take a look here at Undisputed, there is none of that level of detail. Rather, everything is rooted in the four archetypes: outboxer, boxer puncher, swarmer, and slugger. There is zero nuance. And by the way, of those archetypes, Fight Night Champion was rooted in, I believe it was 8 of those. So it had twice as many of those in addition to all these other variables that you could edit in Fight Night Champion that there is no similar thing for Undisputed. I'll head this off at the pass also. Don't bring me the small studio first time nonsense. Because if you are going to charge big studio prices, your obligation is to produce big studio quality. This isn't pro strategy football for the PC, a one guy operation cranking out a fun, if flawed game, but charging $20 for it every year, opposed to the 70 or whatever Madden cost. You charged $80 for Undisputed. Deliver! Get all the flashy fighter models. Cool. Models aren't boxing. Boxing is boxing. You can make your Muhammad Ali and Bill Frazier models look exactly like them. But if Ali is throwing 90 punches around and getting dropped twice in 30 seconds, he's not Muhammad Ali. He's just some guy that looks like Muhammad Ali, but there bears no similarity in how he fights or performs beyond that. And the real kicker is much of the stuff that you can use to differentiate fighters in theory in Undisputed is broken. Accuracy, blocking, agility, useless. My first rule, doing roster creation and development for more than 20 years at this point, in evaluating a game, is you judge a game by how the CPU plays against itself, because that is how the game was built. That leaves all external forces out of the factor, and it leaves you dealing solely with the game engine. If I was to take a guy, even if he was rated to throw 30 to 40 punches around the way Ali did in real life, if I decide I want to go in there and slug out with Ali and make him throw 70 punches around when I'm controlling him, that's on me. Right? That's my mistake. I'm using him in a way he's not supposed to be used. And frankly, I should have to pay a penalty for that. But if the game is by default, by its engine, having somebody perform in a way that they wouldn't really perform and shouldn't really perform, then that is on the developer. And that's what happens here. If a game can't sim accurately, it will not play accurately. Here's a fun test with Undisputed to demonstrate this. Go back to the fighter creation module. Create 2 fighters. You can use one of the templates there up top and cycle through whichever one you pick. It doesn't really matter for our purposes here. But you want to use the same for both. Make both fighters exactly the same. Same ratings, weight class, height, reach, style, etc. Then set the accuracy down for both of them. to bottom out at 10. That's the lowest you can give. Then take all the sliders that relate to defense, guarding, block strength, block regeneration, and agility. That's your ability to slip and dodge and stuff. Max those out at 100. Now have them fight CPU versus CPU. With both fighters programmed for minimal accuracy and maximum defense, both fighters will land between 45 and 55% of their punches for the fight. According to CompuBox, who ironically Undisputed says it has a sponsorship deal with, the most accurate fighter right now is flyweight champ Jesse Rodriguez, who lands an average of 39.7% of his punches. So in Undisputed, fighters with the lowest possible accuracy and the highest possible defense land at a higher percentage than the most accurate fighter in the world right now. The crime here isn't that they tried and failed with Create a Fighter. The problem here is that Steel City flat out half-assed the feature. At best, it was tested by people who don't know boxing or how to test. At worst, it wasn't tested at all. In either case, it's a real frustrating conclusion to draw about a game I had such high hopes for. All of that said, I love creating my cross-era sports projects and developing ratings mechanisms to bring my sports world ideas to life. I'm a buff of sports history. I've loved sports my whole life. I'm older than probably a lot of users of Undisputed. I'm 50. I go back a few decades from this. I got into boxing in the 80s from my older siblings, my older brother in particular. Got me into the title bout game. It's why Marvin Hagler is my all-time favorite fighter. But I've been a passionate fan of it since then. And so I'm diving in, recognizing the limitations with Undisputed, trying to test and retest, analyze and test some more to make this game something I can create a true history of boxing focused project with. Stay tuned because my next video on Undisputed will feature some things I've figured out in testing so far that may help you enjoy the Create a Fighter and CPU versus CPU aspect of Undisputed just a bit more. Bang that like button, subscribe if you have not as of yet, and most importantly, be good to each other, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for watching.